duty without legislature. It has no platform for people's aspirations, no voice of people. It's everything decided by one individual, which is the lieutenant governor, and therefore it is bereft with democracy, just like colonies of the past used to be. Promises made to us were that we would be included in sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution, and elections were won with that on top of the manifestos. And now it's taken forever. Without that, there are no safeguards for the culture, land, and environment of Ladakh. In such a sensitive, ecological, security wise, sensitive area like Ladakh, local people, indigenous people should have a say in how the area is managed. It was this disappointment that made us, raise our voice, not anything about 370 per se. I'm only thinking of the government, which did a lot of damage to itself by doing such things. They will look not good in the eyes of the public by detaining these 80-year-old war veterans who walked all the way from Leh to Delhi. We are here on Anchan or fast. We'll see what happens. It's for the government to think of their next move. I had a lot of issues at school. It was a very challenging time when teachers thought I was retarded. When I walked from Leh to Delhi, I saw the devastation caused in Changtang Plateau of Ladakh. If people's consumption is unbridled, the Himalayas will be destroyed. People are using air conditioners to make it so cold inside the room that they have to use covers, duvets, razais in 45-degree Delhi, 40-degree Delhi. If you run these fragile places by a man who is parachuted there for 2 or 3 years as lieutenant governor, they can make mistakes at best and can do a lot of damage.
Hello and welcome to HD's weekly talk show, The Interview, and our special segment, Coffee on Sunday. There is a colony-type rule in Ladakh, quote unquote. We have jumped out of the frying pan into the fire, quote unquote. The situation of the Ladakhis is like being in a golden cage, quote unquote. We want statehood, we want separate parliamentary seats for Leh and Kargil, and we want the government to honour its promises. And finally, I am not a filmy character from Amir Khan's Three Idiots. I am more beautiful than that. The last is true because engineer turned reformer turned crusader Sonam Wangchuk is much more than that. His is a life of struggle. He has fasted for days. He has slept outdoors in temperatures which were below freezing point, and he carries the pain of being called stupid in school. Sonam Wangchuk, the man who is a hero to his people, the man who is determined to fight till the end, and the man who calls out the government's double speak. Sonam Wangchuk here with us in this edition of Coffee on Sunday in our weekly talk show, The Interview. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I am going to begin this interview with some of your quotes and ask you to elaborate on each one of them. So let's begin with the colony type rule in Ladakh after the abrogation of Article 370, which you have spoken about.
Yes. So Right now in Ladakh, after it became a UT rather than 370, I would say, after it became a UT and a UT without legislature, it has no platform for people's aspirations, no voice of people. It's everything decided by one individual, which is the lieutenant governor, and therefore it is bereft with democracy, just like colonies of the past used to be.
Is that the reason why you said, and I quote you again, we have jumped out of the frying pan into the fire?
Yeah, that was partly about the state of democracy and partly how in the past there were safeguards in the Jammu and Kashmir due to 370 and our expectations, and not just expectations but promises made to us were that we would be included in sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution, and elections were won with that on top of the manifestos. And now it's taken forever. I hope it happens, but without that, there are no safeguards for the culture, land, and environment of Ladakh, and therefore it's like out of the fry pan into the fire.
How will the sixth schedule status change things for the people of Ladakh?
So, the
Yeah.
sixth schedule of the Indian Constitution, Article 244, gives this special status to areas where indigenous tribal populations exist. A special status in that they get their autonomous councils where elected representatives make decisions and can make laws, and therefore in such a sensitive ecological security wise sensitive area like Ladakh, local people, indigenous people should have a say in how the area is managed. So this is the biggest benefit of sixth schedule, that it gives lawmaking powers to the local councils, which is like a small assembly or a parliament of the local indigenous people.
You know, you supported the abrogation and also rejoiced at being declared a union territory. And now you seem to be training your guns at the same government you once supported.
No, Ladakh's happiness was not about abrogation of 370. It was about creation of the UT of Ladakh. This was a long standing demand of the people of Ladakh to become a UT. And what was coming in the way was 370, because we were told that as long as there is 370, you cannot get a status, an existence, or an entity of your own, because it has to be passed in the Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir with 370 there. So people rejoiced that now Ladakh could become a UT, and it was about that more than anything to do with 370. So after we became a UT, we were hoping to become a UT with legislature and a UT where we were promised we would be included in the sixth schedule. It was this disappointment that made us, raise our voice, not anything about 370 per se.
So, the fact that Ladakh has been declared a union territory, would you say half the battle is won?
Yes, I would say half the battle is won, but the other half is very important because otherwise we are worse off. So, therefore, we hope that there is only delay, it's not the end of hope, because we want to believe that the government will be sensitive enough to keep what they promise to us and what every citizen in the nation deserves and gets in the largest democracy of the world. The mother of democracy should give democracy to the last citizens on the border.
Hope is a good thing, and but the fact remains that the government is not listening. You've been on fast, but the government is not even willing to grant an audience. Second, when you were walking from Ladakh at the border, at the Tsingu border, you were stopped. How do you look at this? And what is your take on the government's attitude towards you and the people of Ladakh?
It's very unexpected and unexpected from any government of the people. They cannot be so insensitive because it will be unfortunate for us, but it will be equally unfortunate for the government because they will come out as not only insensitive but rather untrustworthy. And for a leader and a government, trustworthiness is everything. Otherwise, people will stop believing that what is promised is means anything to the people at the helm. So I want to believe that they will not be so um, unmindful as to just make promises and win elections and not care about the thing anymore after that. I can't believe any good government will do, and therefore I have hope.
But you have Manipur as an example where the Prime Minister has not even, despite all that has been happening for the past 1 year, really even visited Manipur. So, doesn't that example somehow give you an indication of what lies ahead for the people of Ladakh?
Yes, but I'm sure they realize that they're manhandling or doing this to people who live on the ultimate border of India, flanked by Tibet or China on one side and Pakistan on the other. People of Ladakh are an asset for the security of Indian borders. They have fought in every battle, every war since independence 1948, 1962, 1965, 1971, 1999, the Kargil war, and then recently in 2020. I cannot imagine a government that can risk its borders and its people at the borders because people there are going to feel betrayed and they may not have the same enthusiasm as they have had to participate in every battle, uh, acting as ununiformed, unpaid soldiers, neck to neck, shoulder to shoulder with the Indian Army. That enthusiasm may go down because they'll feel that when the nation needed us, we did everything, and when it's our turn, the leaders abandoned us. This will not be good for any nation, any government, especially when you have dangers looming in Ladakh from both sides.
Is that a kind of a threat to the Indian government? Because that is the sense I'm getting from what you are saying.
No, it's just a reflection of what's coming. You don't want to alienate people who have been by the nation in every war, and there may be future wars also. It's not a very sound, wise policy to lose your allies, not thinking of the coming future.
What would you say to a government who detains you on the border and who, as I said, is not willing to talk to you? Would you see that as akin to being humiliated?
No, I have no regrets at all. It actually did a lot of good for us because it amplified our message. It reached everybody in the nation. I'm only thinking of the government, which did a lot of damage to itself by doing such things. They will look not good in the eyes of the public by detaining these 80-year-old war veterans who walked all the way from Leh to Delhi to give this kind of treatment will damage the party and the government much more. We actually have no regrets at all.
What is your next move? Looking that there is a stalemate and a kind of a dead end, what is your next move?
Well, that depends on the next move of the government. We are here camped uh, at Ladakh Bhavan on Ansan or fast. We'll see what happens. It's for the government to think of their next move.
But the government doesn't seem to be moving.
So this is our next move. What we are, where we are, is the next move. That's the uh, thing that we are doing, and there's not many options here. We'll be here, stay put. We're just waiting to see when they hear these people who have come all the way from Leh to Delhi, walking from the last borders of the nation, the biggest democracy in the world, to meet their top leaders. I'm sure they'll listen sooner or later.
Your list of demands includes statehood, protecting the ecosystem of Ladakh, separate parliamentary seats for Leh and Kargil, among others. Will you prioritize these for me? One, two, three, four.
No, I'm no one to do that. I am only supporting the apex body and KDA, who are actually the lead for this movement. For me, as an environmentalist, it seems that local democracy for indigenous people, whether in Ladakh or any part of Himalayas, is the best way to safeguard the Himalayas. People who live there, have lived there for generations and will live for generations, have a stake. They will never destroy it. On the other hand, if you run these fragile places by a man who is parachuted there for 2 or 3 years as lieutenant governor, they can make mistakes at best and can do a lot of damage by selling off uh, pastures and valleys for industries and mining. So, therefore, democracy is my top priority, and sixth schedule gives grassroots democracy to the indigenous people, and statehood gives macro scale democracy to the whole region. Both are very important.
What kind of an economic model is ideal for the development of Ladakh?
Not only for Ladakh, for the whole nation, and the nation can show the way to the world that a balanced development of not just chasing after wild desires of the people, but rather meeting their needs. The world should have a development policy where no one, not out of a binding, but out of education and enlightenment, wants to consume more than what they need. And therefore, our education system has to change. It should not be about becoming, multinationals or tycoons. It should be about uh, doing the best for the world while having the least negative impact. So the same applies as much for Ladakh as for the nation and the planet.
At a time when the government is hard selling Vikas or the development agenda, you have spoken about the ills of overdevelopment in the context of your region. Will you just take me through that?
So, anywhere, balance is the key in life, in the world, in development. I understand them when they want to bring people out of abject poverty. But beyond a point, it becomes just mindless consumption, which damages nature most. And that is not good for anybody. It's just only good for the corporates who want to, you know, multiply their bottom lines. That's what is destroying the planet. So I believe in everybody living a decent, dignified life, but beyond that, we shouldn't. And that's why I see, when I walked from Leh to Delhi, I saw the devastation caused in Changtang Plateau of Ladakh, where for power generation, solar power, hundreds of square kilometers are being taken away from the local nomadic shepherds who produce the world's most precious fiber, pashmina or cashmere, as we call it internationally. Now they are being displaced and removed for 13,000 megawatts. That much is too much for Ladakh, of course. Even a 0.1% will be not needed. So it's for the plains, it's for the big cities. Then, when I reached Himachal Pradesh, I saw how so many dozens of rivers will be dammed again to produce hydropower. Then I saw how mountains were gobbled up by cement factories, again for cement in the big cities. So, if people's consumption is unbridled, the Himalayas will be destroyed. People are wasting power, people are wasting cement, you know, people are using air conditioners to make it so cold inside the room that they have to use covers, duvets, razais in 45-degree Delhi, 40-degree Delhi. So if people live on 20% of the power they can easily, then 80% of the Himalayas can be saved. So, therefore, I very much believe that development should be a balanced development where everyone's need is met, but greed is not what you run after.
While on Pashmina, you also planned a Pashmina march.
Pashmina March actually was to the Pashmina pastures, which we passed this time. So we made it now when we did the Padyatra from Leh to Delhi.
You know, in March, you slept outdoors in below freezing point temperatures. And you are a frail man. How did you manage?
It's a relative thing when the problems of the challenge that we are facing with policies in Ladakh is much bigger. Even giving your life is not big. You know, there can be a time when, due to this unrest and frustration in Ladakh, there are riots and things, and thousands of young people may lose their lives in, as happened in Northeast, particularly Assam and so on. So, if one person faces discomfort or even loses his life, it's a very small deal for what could happen in the future.
From an engineer to a reformer to a crusader, and from being called stupid in school, which you have described as the darkest period, take me through that.
I've always seen myself as a problem solver. So, in whatever position I could solve problems, I have done as a teacher when it was about education, as an educational activist when it was about bringing reforms in education, as an engineer, which I studied engineering, to bring solutions to the high Himalayan mountains because there were no other people who could do that. So I've done what was needed at the time. From school, yes, I had a lot of issues at school because I was not schooled from the beginning. I grew up on in my tiny village of 5 households with my villagers and the animals and farm work and learning about the world from my mother in my mother tongue, which was great. looking back, I think that was the best part of my childhood. But after 9 years, I was dragged into normal schools where ended my true learning. And through that, it was a very challenging time when teachers thought I was retarded or something because I didn't speak the language, English or Hindi, and I didn't want to memorize things. I believed in understanding things. So it was a very challenging time until I caught up and did well.
You know, you have done commendable work. You have been recognized internationally. And I know you're going to say, I don't care about awards. But isn't it strange that the government of the country that you belong to has not conferred a Padma Award on you?
They have conferred all kinds of detentions and FIRs. So awards can come in different forms.
Let me end on a lighter note and ask you, what about your plans to build a ice hotel? Tell me about that and the ice stupa. One was necessity and the other perhaps tourism for fun, if I may use the term.
Yes, we hope to do uh, in coming years when we find the suitable improved technologies. Ice supers have been built, but there needs a lot of technology enhancement so that there is less. It's less laborious and painful in winters. So we are working on automation. Um, automation digitally so that much of the things can happen. And then, yes, our idea is that the ice hotels, there are many in the world, but they are just hotels. What we want to see is ice that will be useful for the farmers. And when they form, they can play another role of promoting tourism in the village. And as they melt, they are useful for the farmers. So that's an idea on which we are working. Yeah.
Since you are tired of answering this oft repeated question, I will not ask you if the film Three Idiots was inspired by you, but explain to me the genesis of your comment that you are a lot more beautiful than the character in the film.
That was just a passing remark. I am who I am. If people take some influence, some inspiration to do their writing or their film, that's fine. I don't mind. And I do what I do. I just don't think too much about it.
Mr. Sonam Wangchuk, thank you very much. Thank you for your time and thank you for being here with us amid trying times when you are on a fast and surviving on water and salt.
Thank you. Thank you very much also.